Last night, you were somewhere impossible. Maybe you were flying. Maybe you were back in a house you haven't lived in for 10 years, or having a full conversation with someone who isn't alive anymore. While it was happening, it felt completely real. And then you woke up, and within a few minutes, it was gone. Not faded the way an old memory fades, erased, like it never happened at all. So where did it actually go? The honest answer is weirder than you just forgot. Your brain isn't losing the memory the way it normally loses things. It's building the memory inside a brain chemistry that makes remembering almost impossible from the start. During REM sleep, the stage where most vivid dreaming happens, a neurotransmitter called norepinephrine drops to almost nothing. Norepinephrine is one of the main chemicals your brain uses to lock a new experience into long-term memory. Serotonin drops too. Meanwhile, another chemical, acetylcholine, is running high, and that's the one driving the vivid, hallucinatory, story-like activity of the dream itself. So you're generating an incredibly detailed experience inside a brain that is chemically in close to the worst possible state to actually save it. Researchers who study this compare it to writing a document with no save function installed. The instant you wake up, that chemical balance flips back the other way, and whatever narrow window there was to record, the dream starts closing immediately. That explains why dreams vanish in general. It doesn't explain something else, though. Why some people remember dreams constantly, and other people will tell you completely seriously that they never dream at all. A research team at the Lyon Neuroscience Research Center, led by a researcher named Perrine, actually tracked this down. They scanned the brains of people who reliably remember their dreams and people who almost never do, and found a real measurable difference between them, not in how much they were dreaming, but in how their brains were behaving while asleep. High dream recallers had roughly twice as many brief awakenings over the course of a night compared to low recallers, and their brains reacted more strongly to sound, even while they were still asleep. Here's the part that actually matters. According to this research, a sleeping brain can't commit new information to memory at all. It has to briefly wake up to do that, even for a few seconds, even if the person never notices it happening. So people who wake up more often during the night are catching more of those tiny windows where a dream can actually get written down before it disappears. If you almost never remember your dreams, it's probably not that you're not having them. It's that your brain almost never opens the door long enough to save one. Why we dream in the first place is a much messier question, and nobody has fully answered it. There are a few competing ideas floating around, and none of them are proven. One theory says dreaming evolved as a kind of rehearsal space, your brain running simulations of danger and conflict so you're better prepared if anything like that ever happens for real. Another theory says dreams aren't for anything at all. In this version, your brain is just trying to make a coherent story out of essentially random electrical activity firing through your visual and emotional centers while you sleep, and the plot gets stitched together after the fact, almost like your brain is improvising an explanation. A third idea ties dreaming to memory consolidation, the same process that helps you retain what you learned that day. Though researchers are genuinely split on how much solid evidence actually backs that one up, the truthful answer is probably some combination of all of this, or something nobody's pinned down yet. Here's something that might make the whole thing feel a little less personal, though. Whatever is generating your dreams, it seems to be generating the same handful of dreams for almost everyone on the planet. Surveys across the United States, Canada, Germany, China, and Japan, different decades, different cultures, no contact with each other, keep landing on the same short list at the top. Falling shows up in roughly a third of people surveyed. Being chased shows up in about a quarter. Somewhere around 1 in 5 people have dreamed specifically about their teeth falling out or crumbling apart, which might be the strangest entry on the list, considering how oddly specific it is. These aren't things people are taught to dream about, and they're not spreading through pop culture. The fact that they show up at nearly identical rates in populations that have never influenced each other suggests something closer to shared human wiring than personal experience. And dreaming doesn't appear to be a strictly human thing either. In one case, scientists actually caught it happening in another species, in something close to real time. In a landmark study at MIT, researchers recorded the exact pattern of brain activity in rats as they ran through a maze, specific neurons called place cells, firing in a specific order tied to specific locations along the route. Then, they recorded the same rats' brains later, while the rats were asleep. The same firing sequence played again, in the same order, as if the rat were running the maze a second time, just with its eyes closed. In a follow-up version of the experiment, researchers played a particular sound during one specific section of the maze while the rats were awake, then played that same sound again while the rats were sleeping, and the rats' brains responded by replaying exactly that part of the maze, as if the sound had pulled them back into that piece of the dream on command. REM sleep itself has now been documented in mammals and birds, and researchers are cautiously finding signs of it in some reptiles too, though that evidence is still being worked out. There's one more piece to this, and it's a little less charming than the rest. Normally, during REM sleep, your body goes essentially paralyzed. Your brain deliberately cuts the connection to your muscles so that whatever you're doing inside the dream stays inside the dream. But in a rare condition called REM, sleep behavior disorder, that shutoff fails. People with it physically act out their dreams, punching, kicking, yelling, sometimes getting out of bed, all while they're still fully asleep. It affects under 1% of people, and it usually starts showing up after age 50. Doctors take it seriously for a specific reason. It's one of the earliest known warning signs of Parkinson's disease and related neurological disorders, with some research putting the long-term risk as high as 40 to 65% within about a decade of diagnosis. The paralysis that keeps your dreams harmless is doing more work than most people ever think about. And when it fails, it isn't just strange. It can be an actual signal coming from somewhere deep in the brain. So every single night, your brain builds an entire world, populates it, runs you through it, start to finish, and then on purpose, deletes almost all of it before you're even fully awake. Whatever happens up there, most of it you'll never know happened at all. If you want more of what's actually going on inside your own head while you sleep, subscribe. There's a lot more of this we haven't gotten to yet.